My name is John and I never imagined I'd raise my daughters in a basement. Not because I was lazy. Not because I didn't try. But because I trusted the wrong people, and loved a woman who used me like an old coat she could toss in someone else's closet. We moved in with her half-sister, Dana, just a week after Valerie disappeared. The day she left, she dropped the kids off with me like she was handing off dry cleaning. No goodbye kisses. No warning. Just a note on the fridge that said, "I need to be free for a while. You'll do fine." I remember the last look in my daughter's eyes that night. Confused. Silent. Like they knew something had cracked open in the world but didn't yet know how to cry about it. Dana took us in. She said it was temporary. Said she understood women like Val. Her apartment was small, just 2 bedrooms, and a semi-finished basement that smelled like mildew and cheap bleach. That's where she put us. Me and my daughters. A single mattress on the floor. A space heater that barely worked. And a small shelf for their toys, which stayed untouched for days. Upstairs, life was louder. Brighter. Dana lived like someone who never ran out of lipstick or wine. She wore silk robes and always had music playing. She'd bend over too slowly when reaching into the oven. Laugh too hard at things I didn't say. I noticed it early on, the way she looked at me. But I told myself it was nothing. That I was imagining it. I had bigger things to worry about. My youngest, Riley, kept waking up crying every night. My oldest, June, didn't speak for almost a week. They missed their mom, even if she didn't miss them. One night, I came upstairs to warm milk for Riley. It was late, around 2 a.m. The hallway lights were off. The kitchen glowed softly. Dana was standing there, barefoot in a white tank top and nothing else. Her hair was damp. She didn't cover herself. She just smiled, slow and sleepy. "I was just getting water," she said. I didn't answer. I turned the burner on and looked away. Then she stepped behind me. Close enough for her breath to touch my neck. "You don't have to pretend you're not lonely down there," she whispered. I froze. And for the first time since Valerie left, I realized something. I wasn't just abandoned. I was surrounded by people who saw me as a man with no walls. Just a body. A burden. A broken door anyone could walk through. That same night, I checked my phone. Valerie hadn't texted. But her Instagram had a new story. A wine glass. A fireplace. A man's hand on her thigh, ringless. Confident. And her giggle, faint in the background. I stared at it while Riley clutched my shirt and fell asleep on my chest. My wife wasn't lost. She wasn't confused. She was with someone. And I was the ghost she left behind, still raising the life she ran from. I didn't sleep that night. Not because Riley kept tossing beside me on the mattress, or because the basement air was too thick to breathe. But because I kept seeing that image, Valerie's thigh under candlelight, and that stranger's hand resting like he owned her. The woman I shared everything with, had given everything away. And I was still folding little socks and heating baby bottles. I remember sitting at the edge of that mattress, the glow from my phone the only light in the room, while June stirred in her sleep. She whispered something in a dream. "Mommy." Then silence. I felt hollowed out. In the morning, Dana brought breakfast down. She never did that before. A tray with eggs, toast, and fresh strawberries, the kind Valerie never bothered buying. She leaned against the basement doorway like it was her bedroom. "I figured you'd need something hot," she said. "You looked tense last night." She wore that robe again, silk, crimson, slightly parted. No bra. I didn't need to look. I could feel her watching me as I helped June into a sweater. I hated how polite I had to be. How much I needed that tray of food. How much the girls needed this roof. I hated how my pride didn't matter anymore. Dana didn't leave. She knelt beside June, complimented her hair, asked about school. Then looked over at me and said, loud enough for both girls to hear. "You're doing amazing, you know. Some women don't know what they're losing until they see someone else take care of it." June looked confused. Riley played with her spoon, oblivious. I said nothing. That day I walked with the girls to the park. We had no stroller, just a second-hand backpack for snacks and an old blanket. They laughed for the first time in weeks. I smiled too, but it felt borrowed. Like it didn't belong to my face. When we came home, Dana was out. The apartment was still, almost peaceful. I went to the bathroom, and when I passed Dana's room, the door was cracked open. I saw the robe on the floor. A bra beside it. And her laptop, open on the bed, glowing. I should have looked away. But my feet moved on their own. I saw messages, a chat window still active. "He's breaking down, just like I said. No, he hasn't touched me yet. But he will. Give it time. I know how to make a man feel needed." My stomach sank. My mouth went dry. She was talking about me. To someone else. Someone who clearly wanted this to unfold like a game. I stepped back, quiet, careful not to touch anything. I didn't belong here. Not in this home. Not in this life. I grabbed Riley's jacket from the basement and took both girls to my friend Caleb's garage. We sat in his workshop, between boxes of tools and old furniture, while he made grilled cheese on a portable stove and handed juice boxes to the girls like it was a picnic. I told him about Valerie. About Dana. About the basement. The messages. He didn't interrupt. Just handed me a folded blanket and nodded. "Sleep here tonight," he said. "We'll figure the rest out in the morning." I didn't want to keep moving the girls. But I didn't want them in that house another night. Not with someone who looked at their father like he was prey. That night, after the girls fell asleep on borrowed cushions, I sat on Caleb's step scrolling through Valerie's posts again. She was still with him. A photo from some wine bar. Her dress short, legs crossed under the table, his hand again, this time on her knee. No captions. Just a red heart. There were no photos of our kids. No photos of the years we built. Just pleasure. Escape. Selfish light through wine-stained lenses. I messaged her. Just one line. "June asked for you tonight. She said your name in her sleep." No response. Not then. But an hour later, she blocked me. Blocked me. The mother of my children. And somewhere, in the back of my throat, I choked on the truth. I wasn't just abandoned. I was erased. I woke up in Caleb's garage with Riley's tiny arm draped over my chest and June curled into my side. The cold floor pressed through the blanket beneath us, but their warmth kept me still. I didn't want to move. Because if I moved, it meant facing it all again. I made cereal with bottled water that morning and watched the girls eat in silence. Riley asked if we were camping forever. I told her no. But in truth, I didn't know anymore. Caleb lent me his laptop. I started applying for anything, night shift at the warehouse, janitorial at the high school, even dishwashing. I needed something. A path out. That evening, Dana texted me. "Come get your things. Valerie's coming back tomorrow." I stared at the screen, pulse steady like death. She was coming back. Back to what? Her clothes. Her sister's twisted charity. Back to the home where she once whispered our daughter's name and now moaned for someone else. I didn't reply. I just packed up what we had and walked the girls back toward the house, chest tight. When we arrived, Dana was already waiting by the door. She wore leggings, a black tank top, hair wet from the shower. She looked domestic. Comfortable. Like nothing ever happened. "I packed your stuff," she said. "Upstairs." I carried June on one hip, Riley trailing behind. Dana watched every step I took. I could feel her eyes tracing my shoulders, the way I cradled my daughter, the lines of exhaustion carved into my face. Inside, the house was cleaner. The candles were gone. A new couch throw. And in the kitchen, wine glasses, washed, drying neatly. I climbed the stairs and found our bags at the top. Not just my clothes, but the girls too. Their dolls. Their books. Everything folded, zipped up, and waiting. As I turned to leave, Dana stopped me in the hallway. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she said, voice low. "But she was never good for you." Her hand touched my forearm. Just barely. Just enough. I saw it. "You were breaking before she ever left. I can be different." I pulled away. "Don't," I said, barely above a whisper. But she stepped closer. "She's already gone. You know that. Even if she walks back through this door tomorrow, it won't be for you." Her fingers traced my side, slipping under the hem of my shirt. I froze. For a moment, just 1 second, I felt a pulse of something. Not desire. Not affection. Just the raw confusion of a man who's been starved, then fed poison on a silver plate. Then I stepped back. "I have my kids downstairs." That stopped her. She smiled, but it was crooked now, tinged with something venomous. "She'll hurt you again. You'll wish you'd taken this moment." I didn't respond. I carried the bags down in silence. The girls were quiet too, clinging to their plush toys like shields. At Caleb's place, I didn't tell him everything. Just that Dana made things complicated. He offered to let us stay another night. That night, June cried in her sleep. Said, "Mama," again. But this time, her voice cracked like something was breaking inside her. The next morning, Valerie messaged me. No apology. No shame. Just. "Can I see the girls next week? He wants to meet them." He wanted to meet my daughters. I didn't answer. Instead, I took them to the public library. We stayed there for hours. Coloring. Reading books about animals. Sitting in the children's corner like we belonged to a different world, one that hadn't been ripped apart by lust and lies. That night, Riley asked if I was sad. I told her, sometimes. She said, "Maybe we need a new mommy." It wasn't cruel. It wasn't meant to wound. It was just honest, the raw voice of a child who doesn't understand why love collapses and people disappear. I went outside after they fell asleep and stood in Caleb's backyard under the bare bulb by the garage. The sky was cloudy, but the cold air helped me breathe. I lit a cigarette. First one in 3 years. And I remembered the last night Valerie ever touched me like she meant it. It was slow. Intentional. She whispered that she missed the way I looked at her, like she was the center of the world. She cried when we finished. Said she didn't deserve me. She was right. But I didn't know then what that meant. Now I did. The next morning started with spilled juice and a broken crayon. June sobbed over the purple one, her favorite, snapped clean in two by accident. I held her as she cried like her whole world had collapsed again. I knew that feeling. We moved into a short-term rental the following week. Just one bedroom, no washer, no dryer. But it was ours. I put inflatable mattresses on the floor, stuck glow-in-the-dark stars to the ceiling, and told the girls it was our adventure fort. They believed me, for a little while. That same week, I contacted a lawyer. Custody wasn't in question, not legally. But I wanted it in writing. Ironclad. Valerie hadn't asked for time with the girls again, and I didn't intend to offer it freely. Then the email came. It was from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line made my chest hollow out instantly. You need to know the truth. I clicked it open. Inside was one line of text. They were sleeping together in your bed. Ask Dana what she found under the mattress. No signature. No sender info. Nothing else. I didn't want to believe it. But something inside me, something old, wounded, and stubborn, already knew. That night, after putting the girls to sleep, I drove to Dana's place. I told myself I needed closure. Answers. A line drawn. She opened the door in a robe. Hair curled. Lips painted. She had been expecting someone. Maybe him. I just need one thing, I said. What was under the mattress? Her face dropped. She tried to recover, but too slow. There was nothing, she said, blinking too fast. Just dust. Try again. Dana swallowed. Then turned away, walked inside, and came back holding a small velvet pouch. She handed it to me. I opened it slowly. Inside was a gold chain with a charm. A letter V carved into a small heart. Not a child's trinket. Not something from our girls. An adult's gift. Was it his? Dana didn't answer. Just looked at the floor. I found that a week before she left, she finally said. Didn't tell you. Thought it was none of my business. I laughed once, bitter and sharp. Didn't stop you from touching me in the hallway, though. Her eyes flashed. Don't act innocent. You liked it. I didn't respond. I just turned and walked out. That night, I laid the necklace on the table beside my daughter's coloring books and stared at it like it might start bleeding. I barely slept. The images came back in fragments, Valerie's late returns. Her sudden showers. Her distance in bed. The soft groan I once thought was a dream. She had brought him there. Into our home. Into the sheets where my daughters were conceived. Into the place we built together. I went into the bathroom and threw up. Then I sat on the cold tile floor and wept. Not because she betrayed me, I'd already accepted that. But because of what she desecrated. What she turned sacred space into. The next morning, Riley asked why I looked gray. I told her I was just tired. She said, maybe we should build a new house. One without ghosts. I hugged her so tightly she squeaked. Later that day, Valerie texted again. I miss the girls. Can I take them for a weekend? I stared at the screen for a long time. Imagining June sleeping beside a man she didn't know. Imagining Riley asking questions that Valerie couldn't answer. So I replied simply. Not yet. And turned off my phone. That night, I tried to cook something special, mac and cheese with chicken strips, their favorite. We watched a movie on the laptop and laughed. I tickled them until they couldn't breathe. For a moment, it felt almost normal. But then June pointed at the screen, a cartoon mom hugging her kid, and said, "That's like us before mommy got sad." I didn't know what to say. So I kissed her forehead and turned off the movie. After they fell asleep, I took out the necklace again. I held it in my palm, feeling its weight. Then I threw it in the trash. Let it rot with everything else she'd left behind. It started with a smell. A faint mix of old dust, mildew, and something sweet, cloying. Almost like perfume. But not mine. And certainly not the girls'. I'd been organizing boxes in the rental's basement. The place came with forgotten furniture and crooked floorboards. Nothing felt permanent. Just transitional. Like we were ghosts floating through borrowed space. While moving a dented chest, I found a crumpled sweatshirt tucked behind it. It was Valerie's. I recognized it immediately, the dark gray hoodie she used to wear when she didn't want to be touched. Her "don't ask questions" uniform. But it wasn't just the sweatshirt. There was a phone in the pocket. Not hers. Not mine. And not the one she'd left behind. A burner. Cheap. Scuffed. Locked. I stood there, heart pounding in my ears, while June called for another juice upstairs. The girls couldn't know. Not yet. They were starting to sleep better. Riley stopped asking if Mommy was lost. I put the phone in my drawer and hid the hoodie under the sink. That night, after the girls went to bed, I cracked the phone open. The passcode was easy. Her birthday. There were only 3 saved contacts, J, S, and a number with no name. I scrolled through the messages. I shouldn't have. But I did. J, tell him I'm just staying late at work. S, same excuse. Every time. You think he believes it? J, he doesn't ask. That's the sad part. And then photos. Some blurry, taken in low light. But unmistakable. Their hands. Entwined. A hotel bed. A mirror selfie with his tattooed arm wrapped around her waist. One photo showed her lying beside him, hair draped across his chest like a soft snare. I felt like I was drowning in acid. Not rage. Not anymore. Just grief that vibrated in my bones. The final message was from a week before she left. Jay, he won't survive this. But he'll never really know. He's too soft. That word gutted me, soft. Like kindness was a flaw. Like fatherhood was weakness. Like trust was something to exploit. I deleted the messages, snapped the phone in half, and threw the pieces into separate trash bags. Later that week, the girls came home from school quieter than usual. June wouldn't let go of my hand. Riley sat with her arms crossed for an hour, watching the wall. "What's wrong?" I asked. She finally looked up. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Mommy said you stole us." The air left my lungs. I knelt down. She said what? That you're keeping us like a secret. Like you're hiding us. I had to stand up. I couldn't breathe crouched like that. She told me she cries because she misses us, Riley added. She said you'd understand if you ever loved her. I didn't speak for a full minute. Then I said, quietly, "You are not a secret. You are my heart." I took them out that night, to the boardwalk, where the lights twinkled like 100 little promises I couldn't keep. We ate funnel cake. Riley laughed again. But I saw the questions still lodged in the corners of her mouth. Later, when I tucked her in, she asked, "Did Mommy stop loving us?" It felt like the cruelest line I'd ever been handed. So I said the only thing that didn't feel like a lie. I think she got lost. But I know she used to love you so, so much. And I kissed her forehead twice, once for now, and once for the love she used to know. After they fell asleep, I walked outside to the driveway and sat on the hood of my car. It was late. The air had that sharp winter edge creeping in. That's when Dana showed up. She didn't call. She just parked, walked up, and stood in front of me. "I saw her today," she said. "Valerie." I stared. She asked me if I still see you. Said she feels unfinished. That you're not doing well. I laughed. One sharp, ugly sound. Is that what she thinks? That this is about me not coping? Dana stepped closer. She's spiraling, Matt. She's been sleeping around more. Drinking. I think she's trying to punish herself. Not my job to fix her. No, Dana said. It's not. But you should know, she told me something else. I waited. She said she's pregnant. Everything around me tilted. Dana shrugged. She doesn't know whose it is. But she thinks it's his. I couldn't speak. I just closed my eyes. Pregnant. While our daughters draw rainbows in notebooks that still carry her name. While I teach them how to sleep without nightmares. Pregnant. With a man who never showed up when the girls were sick, never painted a wall, never fixed a faucet or tucked in a child. A man who slid into our world through the broken parts she left behind. I opened my eyes and whispered, then I guess she finally got what she wanted. Dana didn't say anything else. She just got in her car and drove away. I stopped asking questions. There was nothing left that didn't hurt to know. Nothing Valerie could say that would stitch this family back together, not after the burner phone, not after Riley's trembling voice in the kitchen, not after Dana's quiet admission on the driveway. But then June spoke. It was a Thursday. The kind of morning where you forget to check the weather because you're too tired to care. The girls were eating cereal. I was staring into my coffee cup like it held answers. And then June, soft-voiced, only 6, said. Why did Mommy call that man Daddy? The spoon fell from my hand. Riley went still. What? I asked, too calm, too quiet. June looked up with those wide, unblinking eyes. When we saw her last week. At the park. She kissed him. Then she told me to say hi to Daddy. But I was with you. So I got confused. I tried not to shake. Riley's voice cracked. She told us not to tell you. Said you'd get mad and we wouldn't be allowed to see her again. There it was. Manipulation, clear as sunlight on broken glass. I swallowed everything, the urge to scream, the shame, the ache, and just knelt between them. You can always tell me, I said. Even the things that feel scary. Even the things that someone says not to say. June nodded solemnly. Riley looked away. That afternoon, I filed for a custody order modification. I attached everything, the photos, the hidden phone records, the messages implying deception, the children's testimony, even the documentation of her mental instability from 2 years ago when she'd briefly vanished for days after losing her job. I wasn't taking them from her out of revenge. I was protecting them from becoming collateral. A week passed. Then 2. No calls from her. No flowers. No apology letters. Just silence, the kind that grows mold. Then, one evening, a letter came. Not from Valerie, from her sister. Dana. It read. She's leaving the state. She says she needs to start over. But I don't believe that. She's running. From herself. From you. From the girls. I wish I could make her stay and fix this. But I can't. What I can do is this. If you need me to testify, I will. If you want the girls to know that someone on their mother's side still sees them, I will come. I'm sorry. For all of it. I didn't cry. Not then. But that night, I tucked the girls into bed and June whispered, "Are we safe now?" I kissed her head and answered truthfully. We are getting safer every day. That's what healing looks like. Not a clean break. But a slow mending, breath by breath, bedtime by bedtime. Even if I still woke up sometimes with her scent burned into the pillow beside me. The custody ruling came through on a cloudy Tuesday. Full guardianship awarded. No overnight visits for Valerie without psychiatric evaluation. Supervised visits, pending future review. The judge's words were brief. Dry. But they hit like a dam breaking. I walked out of that courthouse not triumphant, just emptied. Like I'd carried a burning house for months, and someone finally let me put it down. The girls were at home with Dana, who'd become something of a safe harbor in our wreckage. She'd been there every step. Helped with the filings. Brought groceries. Sat with June when she had nightmares. Listened to Riley's anger without trying to silence it. When I walked through the door that afternoon, June ran to me. "Did the judge say we can stay?" she asked. I nodded. She hugged me so tight I nearly dropped the keys. And Riley, older, tougher, didn't run. But she gave me a quiet look from the hallway, one I'll never forget. That look said, "You didn't give up on us. You didn't leave, even when she did." That night, we celebrated with pizza and movies. Dana stayed late, helped put the girls to bed. She looked at me from the kitchen doorway, tired but kind. "You saved them," she said. "Even if it broke you a little." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because she wasn't wrong. Weeks passed. I found a new place, small, but ours. Clean. No ghosts in the closets. No basement stairs to make my stomach drop. The girls helped paint the walls. Riley picked lavender for her room. June chose yellow, like the sun, she said. We built new routines, quiet breakfasts, soft music in the morning, books at bedtime, no locked doors between us. And me? I started sleeping again. Not perfectly. Not always. But enough. Valerie didn't show up again. Not for visits. Not for apologies. She was a chapter now, not the whole book. And when people asked what happened to her, I just said. She lost herself somewhere. And I couldn't follow. One evening, I found an old box in the back of the closet. Photos of us before it all fell apart. Smiles that meant nothing now. Memories I didn't want to erase, but couldn't carry either. I didn't burn them. I placed them in a small envelope. Labeled it, before. Sealed it. Put it in the highest shelf I could find. Some things don't need to be destroyed. Just, put away. Now. Now, my daughters laugh again. We plant herbs on the windowsill. We dance in the living room when it rains. Riley writes stories in her notebook. June sings in the bathtub. The apartment feels lighter. Like it was waiting for us. Like the shadows packed up and left with her. And me, I sit on the porch some nights, coffee in hand, watching the sky change colors, listening to the sound of their feet on the floor above. That's the sound of a life rebuilding itself. That's what survival sounds like.